After another student takes their own life, the student population at Le Moyne College in Syracuse demands changes, and the administration responds. And New York State is the latest state to legalize recreational marijuana with hopes to generate revenue, but the bill is causing controversy along party lines. And more witnesses are called to the stand in the Derek Chauvin trial for the murder of George Floyd last year. The emotional reactions from bystanders, medics, and fellow officers. These stories and more, News 11 starts right now.
Good afternoon and welcome to News 11. I'm Hope Winter.
And I'm Dee Thomas.
And it's Dee's birthday today. How do you feel being 21 now, Dee?
I'm legal and we're gonna get going on, 20, we can buy marijuana now legally, so how about that?
Okay. Well, I'm happy you had a birthday wish.
Yeah.
Well, Dee, I hope you have a birthday wish and you asked for 2 days off of school. Yesterday, Dr. President Stephen Collison announced that Fredonia will be holding 2 mental health days for students and staff. This decision has been made in response to the petitions that have been circulating online by Fredonia students asking for a break. These 2 days will be off. The 2 days off will be April 13th and Wednesday, April 21st.
The purpose here is to simply decompress. You don't have to worry about classes on that day. You can sleep late. You can get up, go to the cafeteria, have some food, take a walk on campus, and just rest.
The school will also be holding a variety of events in April to help students with their mental health. There will be a Week of Hope, which will run April 19th to April 24th.
The first day, which is Monday, we'll be working on a community art mural where students will be able to come by and make their mark on a mural. It'll be the space that we're holding for it is in front of Starbucks, in front of the bookstore. So we'll be able to have the entire community come and make their mark on this banner for a community mural of hope. And then Tuesday, we're going to actually do tie-dye t-shirts. The Suicide Alliance for Chautauqua County has graciously donated 300 t-shirts for us to tie-dye. So we're going to tie-dye on the front, in front of the quads. So in front of those quads that are next to the Williams Center, in the grass area. On Wednesday, we're going to hold space to remember friends, students, family that we've lost to mental health. And make signs of hope. So we'll be able to hold space for that in the NPR. So there will be materials to make posters and signs to remember loved ones. But also if you want to leave messages of hope for others, you'll be able to do that. On Thursday, we're going to be passing out mantra bands and positive affirmation bands. So like wristbands and silicone. And that'll be out in front of the bookstore again.
Later this month, the school is also participating in a national Out of the Darkness walk run by the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. This walk will take place virtually on April 24th. Students and staff are encouraged to email Miranda Nellis to join the Fredonia team or to find out more information.
In Syracuse, Le Moyne College is receiving some extreme backlash from their students. On March 21st, Corey Gallagher took his own life. Laura Nichols, a senior at Le Moyne, says this is the 4th student to have taken their lives in the 3.5 years since she has been there. Mental health has been a subject that has been brought up to the administration at Le Moyne, but is constantly put on the back burner, Nichols says. Students have been holding silent protests outside on the quad to demonstrate how disappointed and outraged they were. Nichols also stated that social media has been filled with demands for change by students. Administration immediately responded to their students by planning a number of forums over Zoom to express and discuss the changes that need to be made in the Health and Wellness Center and anything regarding mental health. The dean and president of Le Moyne College spoke at Corey's vigil, expressing their condolences to his family and friends, and promised that students that there would be a change. Le Moyne has already scheduled more mental health days, but have tacked on more class days at the end of the semester in lieu of the missed days.
And New York State announced this week that all New York State residents above the age of 16 will be eligible for the COVID vaccine starting Tuesday. This means that all SUNY Fredonia students will be eligible for the COVID vaccine. But will students have easier accessibility to vaccines that are administered right here in Steele Hall on campus? Well, next week we will talk to Mike Metzer to see. However, this week the school sent out an email to students encouraging those who are eligible already that there are hundreds of doses available on campus. Joe Sierra, a senior Fredonia student, finally got an appointment that he's been waiting for.
Actually had a link emailed me by Fredonia, and it was a link for so many appointments that anybody can sign up for. There's still a lot of appointments left, so if anybody over the age of 16 wants to sign up for it, then they can, and I encourage everybody to do so.
Next week, our News 11 team will look into if the school is still thinking of having a closed vaccination site once our students are all eligible.
As of Wednesday, nearly 30% of Chautauqua County residents have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The newly added vaccination clinic in Jamestown Community College is planned to help more residents to get vaccinated. The state vaccination tracker shows that 38,294 people have had their first dose, and 20,170 people are fully vaccinated. After Governor Cuomo announced that anyone over the age of 30 is eligible for the vaccine, the pool of people who are eligible to be vaccinated has greatly increased. With the rise of people eligible to get vaccinated, Cuomo hopes that soon all New Yorkers will be able to get vaccinated. According to Cuomo, this is, quote, the key to defeating COVID, end quote.
This Wednesday, the J.C. Seneca Foundation and G Health Enterprises will be sponsoring a pop-up COVID vaccination site in Irving. This is the latest attempt to vaccinate rural communities around New York State. The 400 Johnson & Johnson vaccinations will be offered to Seneca Nation's residents and surrounding communities. Dr. Raul Vasquez of Buffalo's G Health Enterprises is a major contributor of bringing healthcare and medical services to the Native communities. Vasquez says, quote, we know that due to issues of supply excess of the logicals of such events, people in rural areas and are struggling to get vaccinated, end quote.
After several boil water advisories in the last few years, Fredonia is looking to overhaul its water system. Residents and college officials have expressed their frustration with the ongoing water problems. Mayor Doug Essex has acknowledged that, quote, every time we have a large water main break, we have a catastrophe almost, end quote. Essex's proposed solution is to install a redundant water supply that will be interconnected with the city of Dunkirk. This system will allow the village to maintain pressure, better manage water main breaks, and allow for more time to sort through issues as they occur. The project is projected to cost approximately $2.5 million and will first need an engineer report and an environmental evaluation.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer visited the Exploring More Children's Museum on Wednesday to talk about children poverty. He says Buffalo has one of the highest rates of child poverty in the country. Biden's $2 trillion American Rescue Plan includes a child tax credit expansion, which means families in Western New York will receive about $77 million. Schumer says that this could possibly cut the child poverty rate in half.
Former New Era Field, which took the name Bills Stadium after not regaining naming rights, has now found their new name. The next time Buffalo Bills take the field for their home game, they will be doing so at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. The health insurer has entered into the naming rights agreement with the team in the Pegulo Sports and Entertainment as describing as a long-term deal. CEO of Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield of Western New York, David Anderson, says, quote, having your name on a stadium and faculty like this gives you marketing aspects on the much broader social aspect scale, end quote. Many answers are still up in the air for whether or not it'll be fully capacitated to be allowed at the stadium for the 2021-2022 season. Fans were only allowed in the stadium last season once the Bills reached the playoffs. Another large question is whether, after Erie County's lease deal ends in 2022, if the stadium will stay in Orchard Park or possibly move to a new location. Anderson said Highmark would like to be a part of the conversation over where Bills play post-2022.
The Buffalo Niagara International Airport has received federal funding for runway updates. The NFTA will receive $650,000 in grant funding to be used for updates. Congressman Chris Jacobs and Congressman Brian Higgins made the joint announcement on Wednesday. Congressman Higgins released in a statement saying, quote, infrastructure investments build a foundation for a stronger economy and support local jobs. This federal funding will help improve safety and efficiency at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport in Cheektowaga, a vital transportation link supporting travel, tourism, and businesses in Western New York, end quote. Kim Minkle, the NFTA executive director, stated, we are grateful to the congressmen who always fight for the aviation funding for the NFTA. She also stated that the passenger traffic is down approximately 85% due to COVID. Coupled by the U.S. and Canadian border closure, this money will be very helpful as we continue to provide aviation services to those traveling to and from Western New York. This funding comes from Federal Aviation Administration's Airport Improvement Program.
And a big congratulations to our Fredonia students and alumni. A total of 15 students and alumni were selected in the 10th annual SUNY-wide Film Festival hosted by SUNY Purchase College of Film and Media Studies. Fredonia made up of a third of all films selected this year to be screened. Due to COVID, the festival was originally planned for last year in April, but has been postponed to be screened this month, April 9th and 10th on Zoom. Many of the students and alumni were a part of the Department of Visual Arts and New Media and the Communications Video Production department. The films selected landed in 5 different categories: narrative, documentary, animation, and experimental. In response to the news, Department of Visual Arts New Media professor Phil Hastings said, quote, we're certainly well represented and I am proud of our students and their accomplishments, end quote. And we just want to congratulate a few of WNYF's own: Carl Eldinger, Emily Sando, Cormac Clune, Ryan Blotto, Jen Morello, and our alumni Haley Poff and Sydney Polino, Dan Northrup, and Susan Kale on receiving these awards.
Good job, guys. We'll be right back with your national news.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. For selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. For selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you gotta register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
The story that a lot of people are paying attention to: New York State Senate has voted to legalize marijuana. The bill lets anyone 21 or older purchase marijuana in New York State and also regulates the marijuana industry, putting a 13% sales tax on pot sales. That tax revenue will go into education, community grants, and drug treatment. Some state Republicans are speaking out against this bill. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt says this, quote, deeply flawed piece of legislation that will hurt the health and safety of New Yorkers, end quote. State Senator Patrick Gallivan of Alma doesn't believe the bill addressed impaired driving and safety in the workplace and says the state is now sending a mixed message about smoking and drug use. Meanwhile, Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes has been pushing the bill. The Buffalo Democrat says it will, quote, create economic and research opportunities, jobs across the state, and safe and reliable product, end quote. The legislation is now in the state assembly where it is expected to pass. Once it's passed, the bill goes into the governor to be signed into law.
On Wednesday, March 31st, Pfizer announced that its COVID-19 vaccine is safe and 100% effective in preventing illness in teenagers ages 12 to 15. It's already cleared for emergency use for people ages 16 and up. The company plans to request emergency use authorization for the new age group in the coming weeks. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla said, quote, we share the urgency to expand the authorization of our vaccine to use in younger populations and are encouraged by the clinical trial data from adolescents between ages 12 and 15, end quote. About half of the 2,200 young teenagers that were enrolled in the Pfizer vaccine trial in the United States received the real shots, while the others got placebo shots. Pfizer said 18 cases of COVID-19 were reported among the teenagers who received the placebo, compared with none who received the real vaccine. The side effects generally mirrored those in adults, such as arm fatigue and headache. Creech said he looks forward to seeing the full data from the trial since quote, there may be subtle differences that we really have to keep an eye on for our children, end quote. Pfizer is also studying how well the vaccine works in children ages 6 months to 11 years old after the first doses of the trial were administered last week.
On Monday, the National Advisory Committee on Immunization in Canada suspended the use of Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine for people under the age of 55, following concerns that it may be linked to rare blood clots. Dr. Shelley Deeks, Vice Chair of the NACI, said, quote, there is a substantial uncertainty amount of benefit in providing the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines to adults under 55, given the potential risks, end quote. Most of the patients in Europe who developed a rare blood clot after receiving the AstraZeneca vaccine were women under the age of 55, and fatality rate among those developed clots is as high as 40%. Dr. Josh Reamer of Manitoba's Vaccine Implementation Task Force noted that the rare type of blood clot typically happens between 4 and 20 days after getting the shot, mirroring symptoms of a stroke or heart attack. Health Canada says it has not received any reports of blood clots in Canada, and the Chief Medical Advisor, Dr. Supriya Sharma, believes that the vaccine's benefits outweighs the risk. Last week, the department changed its label on the vaccine to warn about the rare risk of blood clots. Only those 60 and above have received the AstraZeneca in Ontario, and Canada is expected to receive 1.5 million doses of the vaccine from the U.S. on Wednesday. Canadian regulators approved the Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Canada has lagged in vaccinating its population because of the lacking ability to manufacture the vaccine, and it has had to rely on the global supply chain. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government bet on the 7 different vaccines manufactured elsewhere and secured advance purchase agreements. They expect to have more than 36.5 million doses delivered by July, and officials hope to get at least 1 dose into all adults to who want them at the end of June.
Dominion Voting Systems filed an $8.8 billion lawsuit against Fox News. The voting company argues Fox News falsely claimed that Dominion rigged the 2020 election in order to maintain its failing viewership. The lawsuit states that Fox News said, quote, sold a false story of election fraud in order to serve its own commercial purposes, severely injuring Dominion in the process, end quote. Fox has defended its coverage of the election, stating that they upheld journalistic integrity throughout the 2020 election. Election officials throughout the country maintained that there was no widespread fraud during the election, and all legal challenges issued by Trump and his allies were dismissed by judges.
Florida Republican Representative Matt Gaetz is now being investigated for sex trafficking and whether or not he had a relationship with a 17-year-old girl. Although he claims that he's not known what the allegations are against him, the New York Times reported that Gaetz paid for the young girl's travels with him. He said, quote, I have definitely in my single days provided for women I've dated, you know. I've paid for flights, for hotels, and I've been very generous as a partner. I think someone is trying to make that look criminal when it is not, end quote. Even though the congressman has not yet been charged, he is now also being examined for violating sex trafficking laws. The 38-year-old now claimed that he is being extorted by criminal organizations. He said he has been threatening $25 million crime scheme. The Republican said that he and his family will cooperate with the FBI as well.
This past Tuesday, journalists were able to get inside of the main border detention facility per allowance of the Biden administration. Inside the facility in Donna, Texas, journalists revealed that the center was extremely overcrowded, that children and their families were stuffed into areas that had clearly breached maximum capacity. Approximately over 4,100 people are housed on the property. The facility has 8 pods meant for the children, and each pod has about 500 kids in them. On Tuesday, journalists were able to witness children being processed. They specifically watched children being screened for lice. They were also hosed down, and then given a towel, which was then thrown into a bin marked lice. Other children were given wristbands with barcodes that showed the children's history of showering and medical conditions. Following Trump's presidency, Biden administration will not resume the practice of expelling unaccompanied immigrant children. Biden also criticized Republicans who continue to defend Trump's record on immigration.
An attack on 65-year-old Filipino woman in New York City is the latest in the increase of hate crimes against Asian Americans. In a video of the incident, the assailant is heard shouting, quote, "You don't belong here," before he attacks her in front of bystanders who appear indifferent of the assault. The assault occurred just 2 weeks after the gunman opened fire in an Asian-owned business in Atlanta. Stan Lee, a Chinese-American man from San Francisco, has taken to the streets along with fellow firefighters to patrol the town and protect Asian Americans. Initiatives like this one have started coast to coast to stand up against these vicious hate crimes. Founders of Stop APAI Hate have expressed the need for bystander training, as well as methods for fighting hate against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
And now we'll go over to Andy to find out what this weather is going to look like this weekend. Hi, Andy.
Hi, so today we'll see a high of 39 degrees with mainly sunny skies. Saturday will be cloudy with a high of 51 degrees and a low of 42 degrees later in the night. The weekend will be a bit colder. We'll have a little bit colder weather compared to the last few weeks. The cooler weather and partly cloudy skies will stick around throughout the weekend and into next week, as I'll have in my next forecast in the next few minutes.
All right, thank you, Andy. Up next, a cargo ship that blocked the Suez Canal flooded the internet this past week. We'll be right back.
Different kinds of pipes freeze for different reasons. To protect yours, wrap insulation around exposed pipes. If a hard freeze is forecast, open the doors under sinks and let the hot and cold faucets trickle overnight. Leave the heat on if you're leaving town. Following these steps can get you through cold weather on a high note.
During World War II, recycling was a way of life on the home front. Rubber, tin cans, cooking grease, paper, scrap iron, those and many more items were recycled for the war effort. It was a time of crisis. The nation desperately needed new sources of raw materials. Millions of Americans were united in a common cause. Today we face a crisis no less real, but of another sort. A solid waste crisis that can no longer be ignored. We are simply running out of places to put our garbage. With your help, we can meet this new challenge as well. Source separation and recycling will save valuable space in our landfills and help protect our drinking water and the air we breathe. Together, we Americans can win the war against waste. Start recycling today.
Yesterday was April Fool's. Dee, did you get pranked?
I did get pranked. My roommate pulled a really bad prank on me.
Oh, man.
Really bad.
I pranked my family. I had a prank calling system that called them all together. So they thought that both of them called each other, and they got it recorded. It was really funny. They were very mad at me.
I bet they were.
Well, a popular car company is getting in the spirit of the holiday, even if they didn't mean to. Volkswagen's AG's U.S. unit apologized on Wednesday after a false statement was issued about a name change after it was widely slammed on social media. The stunt, which came just ahead of April Fool's Day, was meant to call attention to its electric vehicle efforts. The initial statement outlining the name change was posted on its website and accompanied by tweets that was reported by Reuters and other outlets globally, and included the detailed description of its purported rebranding efforts and new logos. A VWUS spokesman said, quote, "The renaming was designed to be an announcement in the spirit of April Fool's Day, highlighting the launch of all-electric ID4 SUV and signaling our commitment to bringing electric mobility to all, end quote. Volkswagen expects to double electric vehicle deliveries and boost profits for its core brand this year after stepping up its switch to fully electric vehicles. The Volkswagen brand aims to invest 16 billion euros in electrification and digitalization by 2025.
An Italian officer has been, quote, caught selling secrets to Russia. This past Tuesday in Italy, one of the Italian Navy officers was stopped by their own military police. The Russian who was involved has reportedly worked at the Russian embassy in Italy and is expected to be expelled. The foreign minister in Rome summoned Russia's ambassador, Sergei Razov, and then expelled the two Russian officials. Italy Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio said that the pair were, quote, involved in this extremely serious affair, end quote. The Italian officer was identified as a Navy frigate captain working in the Office of Chief of Defense Staff. This exchange has been reported by the Italian media and had taken place in a car park and involved 5,000 euros, which exchanged to $5,900 in American.
On March 25th, Nepal released 5 short films detailing the cleanup amount of Everest while the tourists were away due to the pandemic. The cleanup was led by Dawa Stephen Sherpa, a Nepalian climber, environmental activist, and tourism entrepreneur who has been leading Mount Everest cleanup since 2008. The biggest issue is that there is no formal way to dispose of waste on the mountain. Most trash that was found are food wrappers, oxygen tanks, tents, and even human waste. Plus, there are bodies of climbers that never made it down. Nepal has started an initiative calling the Carry Me Back Initiative. The initiative works by requesting tourists and guides to bring a bag containing 2.2 pounds of garbage to the airport. The trash will then get taken to the capital city of Kathmandu. As of now, the garbage collected is being transformed into art and being put into a nearby gallery to spread awareness about the trash program.
After a week of being wedged in the Suez Canal in Egypt, the Ever Given is finally being freed. Originally thought to be blown, of course, by a dust storm, the massive ship is now docked and awaiting inspection. Many have said that human error should not be ruled out, but what does this mean for our world trade and shipping going forward? The Suez Canal location in Egypt has been a long point of contention, and questions have emerged over the canal's vulnerability to changing weather, terrorism, and other threats. Roughly 15% of global shipping trade passes through the canal each year. And over time, the logistics have become more complicated. As ships have been getting longer and heavier, canals around the world have spent billions of dollars on updates to accommodate them. Global shipping experts have recommended those look to diversify sea trade routes in an effort to avoid shipping standstills during incidents such as this one. Well, now Kevin Syracuse joins us here to tell us about sports. Kevin, now that March is over, what do you have going on with March Madness?
Well, the March Madness will be coming to a close this weekend as the Final Four is set to take place tomorrow. Houston and Baylor will tip off at 5:14 p.m., followed by UCLA and Gonzaga at 8:34. The winners will meet in the national championship game Monday night at 9 p.m. All games can be found on CBS. And speaking of coming to a close, the Buffalo Sabres defeated the Philadelphia Flyers 6-1 on Wednesday night, ending their 18-game losing streak, which tied an NHL record. The Sabres then lost to the New York Rangers 3-2 in overtime last night, although Tage Thompson's goal with just under 3 seconds left in regulation gave the Sabres a point. Since February 1st, 2020, Buffalo's 2 professional sports teams have the same amount of wins. The Bills and the Sabres have each won 15 games.
All right, thanks, Kevin. So now we're gonna, toss it back to Andy to get this final news weather forecast for us.
It's not in here. It's not in here. It's not. It's not. Just read.
Some technical difficulties with our teleprompter. We will just stay tuned.
I believe it's going to be a sunny
All right,
weekend,
it's
though.
going to be a sunny weekend, yeah. So we can actually go back to sports, talk about sports. You know, your Sabres defeated my Flyers. We're just going to call it a day. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, crew. Thank you to everyone watching, and I hope you have a good weekend.
Happy Easter.
Have a happy Easter.